occurs are space-time events, and space and time-like observables emerge from the space-time event. Fractality emerged from the space-time event.
So there's a space-time event that's in space-time, and then from that space-time event...
It's not in space-time. It's not in space-time. It generates space-time event, which generates ether, okay, which functions as a three-dimensional lens.
So there's a space-time event not in space-time.
The space-time event is within the ether bubble. They're not the same.
And the ether bubble is not...
volume. Ether bubble's a volume. The space-time event is the mass distribution within that volume. Obviously interdependent. It's just you have to look at ether as more of a fixture because ether is atemporal.
So the space-time event, this volume is not in space-time. There's a volume not in space.
Volume holds the space-time event, right? Because the space-time event, time exists on more than one scale, right? Because there's a day, a month, not a month, sorry, a day, a year, a great year. Tell I'm getting tired when I'm saying a month. But yeah, there's different well-defined time, quote-unquote, sub-events within the grand space-time event.
Right, so we have a volume, and in the volume is space-time. But what is the volume?
Ether.
Is it... Okay, so ether exists outside of space-time.
Space-time exists inside of ether. Ether is the volume that inscribes the space-time, not just one position of the space-time event, all of the positions of the space-time event. So if we're talking about the path of Earth, it's not going to be just the sphere. It's going to be all of the volume the sphere ever traced out.
Right. So the ether is outside of space-time.
It's the thing that the space-time is inside. It's the volume space-time is inside.
Have
you ever been to a
I understand.
Been to a theme park?
So space-time is inside ether.
On a slide. It's
but,
like
wait. So like if I put a piece of candy in a box, and outside of the candy is the box. So if you put space-time in the ether, then outside of the space-time,
the arising of the space-time event generates the ether. It's like cracking an egg, okay? So it's a series of steps. You have gravitational collapse, quantum state exclusion, stellar creation, and ether creation simultaneously. And then the space-time event cycles around within the ether.
Okay,
you and I are sub space-time events. And we're like, we was Kangs, but it's actually, no, I'm a little bug.
So gravity exists outside of space-time.
Yes, and so does quantum state exclusion. Those things are atemporal, completely atemporal. And the periodic table is almost completely atemporal, but it only has it is only observable within a temporal region. There's no way to establish that the periodic table exists based on dark matter in the universe. It's just no information there.
Gravity is not the curving of space-time then.
Gravity is simply understand it as an attractive force between mass.
Because of the curvature of space-time.
No, because curvature of space-time doesn't make sense, right? Because curvature implies dimensionality, right? So we got to let go of the stuff that's not conducive to understanding.
Right. So space is
ether
curved.
Not have mass. And yes, it doesn't have mass. That's correct.
I'm still stuck on the whole gravity before space-time thing when gravity is space-time curved.
Gravity is the attraction of mass to itself. Mass attracted to mass.
But if there's no space-time, it wouldn't be attracted. It's only attracted because of...
No, the space-time arises because of gravitational collapse. There's no space-time when you just have mass, necessarily. Like, at night, when you look in the sky and it's black, that's not space-time. That's just mass.
So, if there's no space-time, how can an object have mass?
You do realize mass is just mass just is the gravity. Gravity mass is the same thing. Like, I'm not going against the modern interpretation to assert this.
Well, yes, you are. So in the modern interpretation, mass is a result of the fact that space-time causes things with mass to pull each other together. It's not the mass, it's the space-time that does the pulling.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The things in mass cause a warp in space-time, which causes things to attract. The mass doesn't attract itself. It's the curving of the space-time that causes them to attract.
I
No
really
curvature.
wouldn't try to just like assume that that's the right interpretation necessarily. So, no, mass and matter aren't synonymous. Matter is just very general. Matter's
Wait,
really general.
so
Mass
there's
is the fundamental
there's
property of matter.
there's non-matter based things which have mass.
Matter is the most general category.
Matter is the
Matter
most general.
Yeah, and then mass is like a fundamental property of matter.
So there's other things other than matter that have mass.
Not the way I see it. I think matter is the most general.
You just said there are things with mass that aren't matter.
No, I didn't. I said mass is a property of matter.
Yes. You said mass isn't the matter isn't the fundamental thing, right? There's mass.
I said matter was the fundamental thing. No, I said mass was arguably a fundamental property of matter, so that matter would be the most fundamental thing.
Okay. So matter isn't emergent from space-time then.
Space-time is emergent from matter. And some matter is not space-temporalized. It's just matter. It's just dark matter, I guess you could call it.
What? So dark matter isn't in space-time.
You're misunderstanding again. You're thinking that space-time is the primordial absolute. It's not. It's emergent. So you just got to let go of your current understanding of it because it's just not accurate.
Well, I understand that mass and matter both exist in space-time. Space-time doesn't exist in matter. They don't. Okay.
Space-time exists in matter. Matter is the fundamental thing. So everything's matter. So anything that exists in matter. It's just a question of what exists.
So is light matter?
I guess so. My definition.
Are quantum fields matter?
I mean, it's a question as to whether that's even a well-defined notion, right? Because when you're talking about quantization, you're necessarily invoking pre-observationality. The whole point of quantum is that you're taking into account some measure of the observer effect.
Okay, I need to take a nap.
I had a really good talk though, but maybe you could read my article. I mean, I do go through the whole thing and it'll be a lot more clear, but it's like I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before by people in my same line of work.
Who else is in your same line of work?
You know, people, scholars.
Which scholars say that everything is made of matter? I want to know this.
I think that's just definitional. Matter is the fundamental, but I could be wrong.
Maybe
anyway.
In not physics.
I'll think of a different word. Would you like me to use the word schmatter instead? Would that be better?
Classically, it's quantum fields are the most fundamental, or energy is the most fundamental.
Quantum fields is not a good idea, and energy is also somewhat vague and sounds like something a hashhead would say. But you said you wanted to go to bed, so I'll just, shut it down for you. It's nice talking, though. Looking forward to the next one.
Nice talking to you too. Good night, everybody.
Anyone want to come say hi? You can just hop up.
Hi.
What's up? All right. Thanks for saying hi.